old Mount Olive. And I have the old Mount Olive picture and everything that before we moved out, where we are now. And every Sunday when they would turn out service, he would come to me and shake my hand. And this was his words: I'm just as glad to see you as children is to see Christmas. Those every Sunday. But we sat right together. And his wife, both of us is just lovely. And I just thought about that a long time ago when I was young. We'd be so glad to see Christmas coming, children. Mm-hmm. And he'd use those words. So sometime now I use those same words to people that I haven't seen in a long time. I'm just as glad to see you as children is to see Christmas.
Okay.
So anyhow, the hotel, and then he had another place right there joining the hotel. I put the names on a paper and just rushed out and left the names there. But these people had a furniture store down on the ground floor, And I would go there every month and pay my gas bill there. But the upstairs was the hotel. I didn't never go up there, but the other club was right next door. I used to see the Harrison family. We all of us right young. And they had these big parties, and people and the singers, B.B. King and those people would come to this building there, Dr. Wells, that hotel. And I'd watch Thelma and her fiancé go, and after they got married, they would go Friday evening to this dance. I didn't go, I was right young, but she'd have a dress so long and she'd have to tote it all the way down Holden. It was Holden Street then. She'd be toting it, and I'd be a-watching, going to this dance down to Dr. Wells. I get tickled every time I think about it, and when I see her now, she's up in age like me. But Thelma didn't miss, she and her husband, now, because they was right young, but they'd go every Friday evening. And I kind of wanted to go, but I wasn't used to, because my parents, I had a big family. I'm the baby of 10 head. My mother and father raised us all grown, and they lived together until in their 90s, before they passed.
Okay. Did you ever get to visit the hotel as you got older? Did you ever go?
Yes, I went, we had a party or something there, and there was a group of us, there was a bunch of us there. We had a good time.
Okay.
Always have a big time there. But it wasn't a lot of fighting and thing going on, And that's why we could just enjoy, and those bands and thing would, come down and they'd be there and the place would be packed, and we just had a good time.
Okay. How often did you visit? Did you go once a week, once a month?
No, I didn't go that regular. I didn't never go that regular. But when these big, stars and thing would, come down and they'd be announcing it, they're going to be down on South Street down there, to the club down there. And I'd want to go sometime. Sometime my husband and I would go down there, but we always had a good time. Went down there to that building. And I don't know, it's quite a few people. I grew up here, and I have a lot of them picture, like Riley. His building was right there on Church, right there from me. Riley, I told Susie, that was when Susie married Mr. Riley. I said, Susie, I remember when you moved to Orlando. She said, yes, we had a good time, then. And the old Mount Olive. That's the most I know, but every time I would meet Dr. Wells, he would always be happy, and his wife down there. In fact, I was to their house the other week. Was with them when they lost, that was his sister-in-law that passed the other week. I was down there. All belong to their homes. It's a beautiful place down there. It's really beautiful, and they was lovely people. That's all. And when Dr. Will passed, they was hollering and going on, say he was one of the best doctors in town. The men was crying, said, that is my doctor. I never will get that. They was crying, said that was my doctor, but he just, passed away just like that.
Do you know when he came to Orlando?
No,
You don't know when he came?
I wasn't here then, you see. When he came to Orlando, I don't remember, because, see, I just came to Orlando, I believe it was 32. But I was a little teenager then.
Mm-hmm.
I was just a teenager. And I lived right there on Huey Street, downtown. And on that corner, that's Jefferson and Huey. And the mayors was there that put that long steeple on our church. And I have all those pictures, and I didn't know exactly what I was going for, the old Mount Olive. And that's in where we are now. Dr. Wells was one in selecting the ground where our church is now, on Church Street, the Mount Olive.
Okay, you mentioned that you went to the club and you went to the hotel, the Wells built. 3, 2, 1, action. Could you give me, to the best of your recollection, some of the prices that you had to pay to go into the Wells Built Hotel back in those days, when you were younger?
I don't think it was over $1. If it was $1, I don't believe it was. I can't hardly remember, but it wasn't much, and $1 sound like $5. I think it was about $1. I believe it was.
Even when the big name people came, like B.B.
Yeah.
King or those?
Uh-huh. So right.
Okay. Could you give me some names of some of those people that are considered as stars that came to the hotel, to the best of your knowledge?
Right off, I can't think, but I do remember Joe Louis. I remember back how we used to run to watch his fights, Joe Louis was one of them. That was our main. We'd just prepare meals and things the night he was going to fight and to go, because everybody didn't have TV then, And we'd just get ready and go to somebody's house and watch. Now, that was one of them. But now the other stars, I just can't call the name right off now.
No
Because, see, I forget, and I have to put things down.
No problem at all.
And if you keep on living, you'll do the same thing.
Okay. Could you think of any specialized activities, hotel, such as church activities or fraternities or certain women's groups?
I was trying to think. I think it was the American Legion. I believe we had something there. The ladies had something. The American Legion, that's mostly what I can kind of think of now. We went there, we had a meeting, and so we had it at that building there because that had a large space for us. And I believe that's what we went there for.
Okay. As far as the appearance of the hotel, could you tell me, did people think it was a beautiful hotel, or how did they view the hotel?
Yes, it was. I think it was nice. And we didn't have to climb way upstairs to go there. But this joining, where we had those different things, was down. We didn't have to climb to go upstairs to, to have these things.
Okay. Could you give me a little description of the layout of the hotel? How it looked, some of the structures inside or outside the hotel?
Oh, it was nice inside and around. It was very nice. Big round building on the inside, when you go in, seated, and then you could sit anywhere around in there, but out in the middle of the floor like this. If the people kind of wanted to dance or whatever they want to do, you know, the open space was out there. I don't know, thinking back like this, if I had put it all down, and then sometimes things will come to you, say, oh yes, I should have mentioned that, but see, I can't think now.
It's no problem. We can always contact you later when you have time to think about it and put it down. It's no problem at all. What was the reaction when the hotel was closed or when it was getting ready to close around the city and the community?
Well, we didn't like it so well because that cut off some of our places to go.
So was there anybody around trying to keep it open?
Not that I can remember. Could have been, but I can't remember that.
How was Dr. Wells received in the community? How did the people in the community view him?
Oh, gracious. When I tell you about the man was crying, so they just loved him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, my God, they just loved him. He was one of our main doctors. Friendly, nice, he and his wife. Those two people was very nice. And they big, beautiful home down there.
Okay. Other than the hotel and being a doctor, do you know of any other business interests or activities he was involved in the community?
With the church business, and I said, Dr. Wells stayed so busy with sick people going to him. A lot of these things they had, he would have appointment. Listen, he'd had to close his office or something to go to him, like a lot of them, you know. But for the church and the business and the setting up things, he was right there. Because as I first said, that he had picked out the place where our church is now. And he and his wife, Clifford, I can just remember, I was kind of young then, but I can remember the different words that he would tell me and his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the last of them, then his sister-in-law, she called me in this big home. They said, Perry, you know we can't get anybody to come in this home and stay and do. And I just wished I had brought the card that they gave me the other week of helping people and doing what I can do. And I was in the home. And with the funeral the other Saturday of the sister-in-law, I was in the home to help take care of her in those last days.
Mm-hmm.
That was my calling, seeing after people, sick people, dead people. Did make it. But the Dr. Wells and his wife and that family was wonderful. And the Mears, those was the people that I thought about when I was real young, when I came here. That they would just take time with me coming down from my home, and I tell them about when that train would stop downtown there. That little train, and it done stop now, and I tell the lawmen when I get there, I tell them they trying to build Orlando over, but I'm so thankful they didn't take down that station where the train stopped. You see how they beautified down the railroad? Mm-hmm. They didn't take that down. They just remodeled it over and decorated. So when I'm down there downtown looking at it, I walk up to the police. It's so funny. I just love fun. I think I left my tissues in my bag. But I walked up beside the police and I said, is that a 45 you carrying? He's a young policeman, you know, I'm waiting on the red light. He looked funny at me. He kind of twisted around and looked at me wondering who I was. He said, yes, it is. I said, that's what I wanted to carry when I was a young girl, but you didn't have police women in my day. And then he knew then that And I said, look at this sun bank here, how you done fixed it over. And thank you. And I said, you didn't take that train station down. Then the police go to talking to me. That's what I wanted to be, a policewoman.
But they didn't have women policemen at that time?
They didn't have police women's. Because I wanted to carry my 45. He said, do you carry one now? I said, you don't let us carry 32. That's known a 45. I just love fun with them. But all of this, and then I would walk down South Street, go by Dr. Wells' home. Miss Mears would take me by the hand. Those was kind of clay streets. And I tell them about Palmo was a clay street, and I seen them pull cars out, and then they go asking me, how old are you? I said, now here you go fooling with my age.
Okay. Could you tell me some of the other leaders in the community that Dr. Wells worked with and some of the things that they did for your community?
Yes. All of those doctors, name them. I can't name each one of them because one is right across the street there from him.
I think we have Dr. Hankins.
Dr. Hankins, that is my doctor. That is my special doctor, Dr. Hankins.
You mentioned Dr. Spade.
Dr. Spade, that was the other one. And Dr. Smith. And the doctor was right across the street from Dr. Wells. Call his name. In that big house on the corner there, the Vision. Wooden. Dr. Wooden. Yeah. All those doctors was right in there. I knew every one of them. And Reverend Collier and his son, I went to see him up there in the nursing home. They all know me. And just go, I can just, you see, I can't call their names right off now, but I know every one of them.
It's not a problem. Not a problem at all. And they were very important people in the community.
Yes, they were. Yes, they was. And there was another doctor on Bryant Street, right there, from our church. Susie Riley. Have you got her name down there? She came here, I believe she told me in 36. Same Susie.
Okay. Do you know if Dr. Wells faced a lot of problems from people in the community or even people outside of the community?
I knew it did, but I don't know. See, I stayed a busy girl myself and didn't get around, as much. But I do know, sure he had problems. All the doctors have problems and things and around in the community and doctoring on people. You could call him anytime. Dr. Spates, Dr. Wells, and Dr. Hankins, and who else is it? I should have just thought and put all those doctors that I know down, had I known just exactly what, because I forget now. I just tell you straight, I forget, but when you mention their name, I know.
Okay, it's not a problem. Could you recall when Dr. Wells died?
No, I done forgot the year. But I know I was to that funeral because I served in that funeral, but not a year. I just can't give you the exact date and year. But I served in that funeral.
Okay. And finally, could you just give me some fond memories or otherwise of the hotel, the Wellsfield Hotel? Any more recollections of the hotel, some of the events that they had there, some good times that you had there?
Just give you some of the names.
Some of the names, some of the names of people that came, some of the years or what was going on during those years of your association with the hotel.
Well, a lot of them has passed away. I could call some names, but they have passed away now. I know the Presleys, most of them, they are gone. The Presley family, and who is that? And the Dempseys. Okay. And let's see, who else should I know? Well, a lot of those people along in those times, they're gone. Most of them that I knew that would go.
Okay, Miss Perry, this has been very informative for me in our study, and I thank you for your time this afternoon. I hope you have a happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you, and same to you. But I just can't remember.
No, it's no
So,
problem. It's not a problem. When you
yes.
have time to sit down, we'll come back and we'll talk to you. You can write it down
I
if you
can
want
just,
to.
yes, I'll put those
Not even
names down. But I was rushing this morning,
Don't
and
worry.
they're calling me to serve and
Don't-
work.
don't
I
worry
said, I
about it.
can't do all these things now. See?
It's not a big deal. We'll get back in touch with you and we'll take care of it then. It's not a problem.
So she says she called. But I do what I can now. But I be called. See, my job was seeing after sick people. I taken that up after they wouldn't let me be a policewoman. Seeing after sick and dead people, I can stay with them all night. They'd call me, I'd hear them call. I worked in Florida Manor 16 years. That's a nursing home. And practically every hospital, when a nurse was out, they'd call me in to work in a place. How about that? Well, that was my kind of type of work. So now I'm up in age and they're still calling me. I am. When you pass 80, you're up in age, ain't you?
Definitely. Definitely.
Somebody say you don't look it. I don't have to look it and claim it.
You really don't.
Yeah,
You
I'm
just
past
surprised me. I
80.
didn't expect you to say 80.
What? You said, no, you ain't. I said, that's why I don't tell my age. The lady say, Miss Perry, don't tell her age. I don't know why. And all of them, the people I work for the Harris Laundry. When he passed, I was there. I said, call your people. I said, call all your sisters and brothers. Call them right now to Harris Laundry. They right there on Terry. Mr. Harris, he passed away. But that laundry is going on. He's right down there from the wells. And I was there when he was passing, and I told his daughter to call all the family in. She said, well, what? I said, he's passing right now. And I left, and was another nurse coming on. And in 15 minutes, she went to calling everybody, all his children. And they got there, he was gone just like that. So that was my type of work, looking at you, staying with you. The night shift from 11 to 7, intensive care room. That's where I worked, where the bad people are. That's what they say. I'm going to let you go because I don't know. The Dr. Wells and the keeping up with this, I mostly was on duty, watching sick people. They said, and with the huge supply for years. And when I went there, they said, Mamie, they sent me to you. Said, because mother won't keep nobody. She had 50 nurses. And somebody told them to come and get me. And I had just left Mr. Harris. He had passed. I said, I'm going to have some rest for 2 weeks. I said, where your mother? She's in the hospital. I said, I'm going to West Florida. And when I came back about 2 weeks, I called him. I said, you got somebody? He said, no. So she's still in the hospital waiting on you. He said, Mother done had 50 nurses, and we'd hire 'em and she'd fire 'em. Some are still dead and some are still weak. And say, I said, I know I'll be gone then. I went there and stayed 10 years. She went phone crazy. This is what her sons told me. She called that office every 10 minutes, and they right there on South Street. Call every 5 to 10 minutes to the office and aggravate them to death. Said, Mamie, can you break her? I said, I'll try. And guess what? In 2 days, I had broke her from the phone. No trouble, just sitting down talking to her, just like I'm doing you. Just talking to her. No scolding. So they said, just Mamie, you're a miracle. See, old people and children, if you can understand, in my day, old people and little children, you can make it. Little children and old people, Because when you get up in age, you do the same thing, like a child. But you see where you can't understand old people, you get mad because they got that age there, they ought to know better. Don't you see where it says, twice a child and once grown? Do you know what that means? I understood it. Twice a child. You see, when you get real old, you done got back to that child. You see that? I'm going to let y'all take me on because I could just talk. And I talked to them, and they'd hate to see me leave. Say, I forgot about it. I was sick. That was my calling. That was my gift, talking to people. And I didn't school them. So a son came out one evening and had the doctor to meet him there at 5 o'clock. The doctor had his grip. And they met him there, and they said, Mamie, stay on. And when he came, the son from the office came. And he said, this is this word. I was sitting over, you know, like they're sitting over there. When the doctor came in, then the son rolled up and they came in. He said, this is what I want to ask you, doctor. Why Mama looking so good and doing so much better than she was, going to the beauty parlor at 1 o'clock and staying until 5, getting perms and everything, going out. And she just, now this, he talking to the doctor, just like I'm talking to you. Why is she doing all of that? So just look at her. And I got her pictures right now there, because I've taken them. And I want to know from you, how come Mama getting along so good and look so good? And I'm sitting back there wanting to know myself. The doctor looked around at her son. He says, that girl you have yonder, that was me. That's what the doctor, I want to know what he was going to tell that son. He wanted to know why Mama was looking and doing so good. That girl. And looked back at him. Says, that girl. The way she's taking care of her, and it shows. And my God, that was it. That's the blessing of God. He gave it to me. And they're bringing people back. I said, they didn't put that on the air when I got in there, and the nurse said, he's a dead man. And when he spoke to me to bring the man back, I did it at Florida Manor. I ain't never seen it in the paper because the nurse didn't tell it. The nurse said, and I mashed the button, I said, there's a man. Can't get a pulse. She did. She come in with a stethoscope and put it around him and went there. She said, Perry, he's a dead man. That's all. She said, he's a dead man. And she started out the door. I said, wait a minute, nurse. I said, can I do what I want to do? She turned around and says, ain't nothing you can do for that man. He's dead. He's black all over, tank black. Couldn't get nothing. And I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to get out of here. She said, he is dead. Nothing you can do. And I'm going and call. I said, she was over me. I said, can I do what I want to do? She said, you can do anything. Nothing you can do. He's dead. When she said, you can do anything, as the Spirit give it to me, I hopped in that bed with that man. And as he give it to me, I worked on that man. And guess what? You don't think my hand could go down your throat, do you? It did. I went right on down, and she stopped at the door, had it open, and watched me. I went on down that throat and started just doing as the Spirit give it to me. And I done. And guess what? I got a thump. And I didn't look around at her. She was just looking at me. And I just kept on. I got another. I kept on bringing him up. And then it got, and she turned around and come back to me, to the bed. And I didn't look around at her, and I just kept on. As the Spirit give it to me. And guess what? In 30 minutes, I had him up walking around the bed. Isn't that a miracle?
Yes, it is.
But it wasn't in the paper.
Yes, it is. Definitely.
I'm going to let y'all go because I can just talk about the blessings of God. And he blessed me the baby of 10 and my mother and daddy lived together in their 90s until the baby was grown. I was working with the Hughes Supply when they called me. And I said, I'll be there in 5 minutes. And I hopped in that car. She said, send another nurse because she's going to drive too fast. And I told her, when I went and got my tag the other week, I said, I've been driving 50 years and never had a wreck. Oh, God, the girl said, I wasn't born. Isn't that a miracle?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Well, I could just go on. When I talk to the patient, get talking like that, they say, I wish you wouldn't go home. Just stay here until 11 o'clock tonight. I said, no, it's another nurse coming on. I'm going home. She said, I forgot about it. I was sick. I went in people's house and they're giving them medicine when I walk in. The medicine's sitting there on the cup. I said, my mind told me to come by here and that's why I came here. And the medicine's sitting there. Sister's sitting there waiting on them. I said, I'm going. I just stopped by here because my mind told me to drive by, see how y'all was getting along. And I started out the door and guess what? The patient got up and walking with me talking. And I looked. I thought to myself, she was sick when I came in the door. And she walked on to the door. And I was going on to my car. And she walked in. Her sister says, hey, you was so sick when Mamie came in that door. And here you going on out. She said, oh, I forgot about it. Went on out to the street with me talking. There the medicine sitting there. That's anointing, people. That's anointing. And it didn't come from man either. And I'm a living witness to do things like that. Because nobody do these things except God be with them. And he has been with me. And I told you, I'm having a birthday the 17th.
Happy birthday.
I don't tell nobody because